Hello there, my friends. Welcome to the Glow Up Method. My name is Natasha. I will be your host today. I'm super excited to be here today. And I have a confession. I am one of those people that preach to the cows come home. Life is about consistency, and it's about showing up, and it's about discipline, and it's about, being able to be present and show up even when things are really tough and they're hard and you don't want to. And I'm going to be honest here. I knew the fact that I've had 8 months of content saved up. I've taken a few vacations in there, so maybe it's like 7 months. And I really needed to take this week for myself. And I think, this is the reminder that not every journey is linear. And so, I went on this magnificent cruise and was all of it great? No. I mean, it was 11 days at sea, 4 days at ports. There was, who am I to complain about that, right? What a gift. But I was with my dad, and I was with my dad's new wife and their family, and I wasn't with my kids or my family, and I really missed them. Like day 2, I wanted to hop off that boat and swim home. I felt really alone, even though I was with a bunch of people. They weren't necessarily my people. My dad and I, we were really close when I was a young girl. And then, he remarried somebody and I got married and I had kids, and that person he married just hated me because I simply existed. And I was probably a sassy 20-something-year-old too. But I mean, she said some really cruel things to me that are unfathomable, and I'm not going to hate on her, because also my dad had a huge role in it. He was my dad. She wasn't my mom. And so the fact that we only spoke once or twice a year, and birthdays had come and passed, and he wouldn't say a word to me, and it kind of all came out. It kind of all bubbled to the surface. It did not help that I was PMSing, let's be honest, which was all messed up because when I went to Saudi Arabia, my period came super early. Like, you need to know this TMI fact, but it messed me up, and it messed the calculation because I wasn't supposed to be on it until after we got back home, and I was on it for most of the trip. So, whatever, it is what it is. But I'm just being real with who I am. I get an emotional response around those times. Like, things like I don't feel like I'm a super emotional person. I'm definitely getting in touch with that side of me. I think because of my life's experience, being logical was the most logical thing to do. And every time I was emotional, things hurt. And when I let people in, they got hurt. And so, it was really tough. That, like, I was there with my dad, and, there was a part of me that was this little girl. Even though I'm a 48-year-old woman, there was this part of me that just wanted her dad to spend a minute with her. And I threw a little bit of a temper tantrum at one point because they were like, oh, we'll do these pictures together, you and your dad, just take a picture. And earlier I had seen his phone and his lock screen, and it used to be him and his old wife and his 2 daughters. But now it was changed. It was him and his 2 daughters. And, and I know it's kind of weird. What, are you going to have a picture of you and your 48-year-old daughter? It's kind of weird. But there was just something about it that made me feel really sad, because I look at my lock screen and it's all 4 of my kids. And it just to me was something that meant something. And I'm sure it wasn't like an intentional thing. And no, I didn't say anything to him. But it just made me feel really sad. It made me feel like ashamed of. It made me feel unloved, unappreciated, unvalued. And, I was already going through things. Like I said, the last minute, Chris wasn't going to take me. Then he ultimately did take me to the thing. And, I was being happy and bubbly in the car. And I didn't understand what was going on in the back end in his life. And I didn't know that already at this point, he was already, involved with somebody. And, I was on the ship, and there were a couple times that we exchanged texts and they weren't great. And in the last one was, I'm moving out, and I'm moving out on the 4th, and I'm taking the oldest son with me. And, it just was like not the way I wanted to end my experience on the ship there. And, just having all this stress to realize, like, I have 0 income, and it's up to me to ensure the 5 of us now that are left here don't go homeless, don't go hungry, like have food and shelter and water and all like those basic necessities. And then even like still some of the things that just enrich our life, like internet and TV, like for those that watch sports and things. We're not big TV watchers here, but still, like, have a car, have gasoline in the car, have insurance. Like, it just puts a lot of weight onto my shoulders, right? Like, alone. And I know a lot of the times, like I've said here, I've done a lot of it on my own, but no, this is like really, I'm doing it on my own and I don't have the resources. And so I have that worry, presented to me. And then I get home and it's this storm and he's like acting different and he's going out every night and he's not worrying about picking up Tyler or taking him to practice on the days that he's supposed to, when he knows I go to the gym, and I'm frustrated because I'm in a pain. Like I've really injured myself and I'm still trying to like push through it. And on the ship I had given myself like the leeway, like it didn't matter with the steps, but because it's a ship, I was always taking the stairs and I was doing the Zumba classes and I was dancing at night. I was really living it up. I really didn't take a break. So because I was so mentally drained, because I'm so physically in pain, I've just taken a break. Like I'm not even looking at my watch about how many steps or whatever. I'm hoping tomorrow I'll go to my class. I bought this kind of band. I've gone to a doctor. I called physical therapy again today to schedule some more appointments. I have an appointment on Wednesday to maybe get like a steroid shot or something, like an epidural, because I'm at that. Like I've taken Tylenol and Advil and nothing is touching it. And I'm not sleeping well, not only because of my back, but because of what everything is on my back, like literally. And so I think part of it is like my body just can't cope with all this stress. And, I can't help but think about, women and how common this is in a woman's experience of an uncoupling. And that was not me. That was a chair. I just have to be clear on that. I was like, I could do it again if you want, but no, it's such a different experience, and I've seen this one played out time and time again in my family. So maybe in different families, it's the same for a man and I'm just being, whatever. But I often see this with the women, and it's just, because there isn't a value. There isn't a monetary compensation for a 24/7 job, and especially for kids that have had so much medical problems. I even, of course, Tyler comes back. He's only playing partial parts of a game. He's playing on Saturday. He's playing about 15 minutes. He gets taken out. We find ourselves in the car heading out to the Stanford hospital again. Like his arm is not movable. Like it was this whole thing. And I'm just like, no, he came back. We did it the conservative way. Funny thing though, is the doctor who had to deal with his medical emergency was the one that attended to him. So I'm like, this is how often we are frequently flying that we even know the ER doctors in a hospital 50 minutes from our house. But, it turned out everything's okay. It was just a sprain. But, I was like, woohoo, wooting and hollering. Like, I'm just so happy that amongst everything else that isn't that, I got the bombshell, and I don't even know if I've said anything because I haven't filmed in a few days, that Chris had a girlfriend. He had said something really repulsive to me twice in regards to our son. And I retaliated as best as I could. Which I regret. I have remorse for, and in my retaliation wasn't being dishonest, so I felt like that was this, but I reached out to his new girlfriend and, the person that was taking up all of his attention and his money and his resources, and causing him to choose to neglect his son and put his son and jeopardize his life and put it in, some scary situations, and having him drive with Brittany on roads at 9:00 at night in the dark. Like, no, we're just not doing that. And so, that caused him to get very mad. Like, it was just messy. It was messy, which then caused me on Halloween to, I was cleaning up a bunch of stuff that he had been asked to clean up, and, it wasn't my job to ask him, but like, that was what he did, like, it was always a fight to do it, but he did, twice a year, trim the bushes. And, they were overgrown. And I was worrying about, the kids coming in the gate for Halloween and it being dark and somebody getting poked in the eye with one of these branches. So I was up there cutting and I was thinking about everything that transpired, how, just the day before he was telling me as a girlfriend, I find it on Facebook and, that's how I find out. And then he's calling my kids and, it's just all messy. And by the way, we're still married. Not a paperwork has been filed yet. Like nothing has been done as that goes, and just felt really messy. And it involved the kids because she had this urgency to want to post it on Facebook for I don't know what reason. And he told 3 of the 4 kids, but didn't tell them all. And it was just weird, and sent me a text. And at first I was really happy. Like, I was like, honestly, I just want him to be happy. Like, that's all I've ever wanted, was him to be happy, for myself to be happy. And if we can't be happy together, then yeah, be happy apart. And so, like on one part, I was really happy for him, but on another part, I was really sad because my kids were saying things like, like, he's not spending time with us, but he's spending time with her, and, going through their own things and being like, this is kind of weird how all of a sudden he's still living here and he has a girlfriend and, and all this. So like, I had just waved him off. I was like, this is the last Halloween. Probably all 4 of my kids are going to be here. Like, I don't want to fight. I don't want to deal with drama. And I felt really scared. I didn't know how he would respond because apparently she didn't like my message and they broke up again, which they had already kind of stopped but started. So the girl has hecka red flags as it is. Like, hecka. But anyways, and, he was blaming me for it. I was like, I didn't say anything that wasn't true in there. So, if she broke up because of the truth, then maybe you should have told her. But, like I said, I shouldn't have said it. I did say it on a retaliatory thing because I'm a mama bear. And if anybody knows, don't mess with my babies. And so we ended up having a good night that night. And, that was really important. And it's been crazy since then. It's been me taking on the role of mom and the role of dad and making sure that they're okay. That's been my priority, right? Like, his priority was him and a new girl. And my priority still remains to be them. And it's really much like a nesting thing. Like, remember when if you're a mom or a dad out there and grandma, whatever, and you're about to have kids and you're just nesting, like you have to prepare. And like, the house for so long has needed things attended to. And these things that Chris used to do, because he kind of checked out of the relationship, he also checked out of doing the things for the house as if it was to only punish me. But like, your 4 kids live here. So when our tub is leaking into the microwave, this is a fire hazard. When their bushes are so low and our kids are having to duck to get in to not poke their eyes out, this is a hazard to them and everyone from Amazon who comes and delivers us new goodies, right? And in the back, like, it was so overgrown that the weeds were like coming into the sliding glass door. And so I know that there's a million things I need to be doing right now. I need to ensure that there is enough money to pay the bills. I need to figure out my life in a really rapid time frame that I was not looking forward to doing or planning on doing. And so it's really unsettling. Like, I don't know what to do. And so there's a part of me that's also grieving because even though like, I'm like, oh, we're separated, we're divorcing, all these things, nothing was really set in stone. And there was this part of me, I think, that like still had hope that maybe something would change, like something would soften his heart. And, for me, like I said all along, is I just want to be friends. Like, I want to be friends first. I want to be somebody like how you would treat a friend. Like, you would care. You would say, how was your day? Like, I'm happy to see you. Like, let's laugh. Like, like, let's cry. Like, and that's what I wanted first. And then to build into something, not just jump into something that I felt unsafe in and untrusted. And I felt betrayed in that. And I just didn't feel good in those situations. Being with like a stranger and someone who didn't know me. And I knew him very well. Like, anything he told me, I remembered, I knew. But yet I would ask him, questions now about me. And it was like, I don't know. I don't remember. I don't have a good memory. And so I felt really unloved. And and unseen and unheard and uncared for. And when I spoke my needs, they kind of just got like, well, I'm never good enough for you. You just expect too much out of people. And maybe that's true. I don't know. It's just, it was really hard in the first place for me to ever speak my needs. And then to have that kind of response as if I didn't deserve somebody to ask me how my day was, like, I don't know, it made me feel really little. And then I heard what his needs were, like with a megaphone. It was like, well, I need hugs, easy, right? Like, and I need love, and I need to feel wanted. And I just couldn't do those things at that time. I just couldn't. And I just, because I didn't have that safety feeling with him. And I think that contributed. And so, like I said all the time, like, I just want to be friends. Like, let's start with friends. And he just, like, that just infuriated him. And he didn't want to be in the friend zone. And, he checked out, like he said, and he checked out of the house. And not even that, like, a lot of times, like, he was kind of sabotaging, like, the house and the thing. So, I've spent the last 48 hours, like, taking care of all the things that he didn't take care of, like cleaning out the lint traps, taking the vacuum to the vacuum cleaner place because it's not working, and it's like the cord keeps going on and off. I've changed the batteries to our garage. I've had trimmed 2 whole big barrels of garbage cans, and then could fill up another 2 with the pile that I have that couldn't fit in there, of all the bushes that needed to be trimmed. And each time I did those things, like, I felt sad. I felt sad that he had left us in a position that was in such a drought. There's negative $39 in my bank account. Like, that there wasn't the consideration to just even leave us at a baseline, like, to be like, you're okay. And it made me sad. And it made me, like, also sad, like, I was listening to music, and like I said, I'm one of those people that listens to music, and I really can relate. And the music that was coming on was this flux between, like, keeping my head up and soon I'll be able to breathe again, and it'll be all good. But, like, it was from that until, like, the heartbreak. Like, I'm heartbroken, right? I no matter what I say, no matter what, at the end of the day, I always wanted that fantasy. I always wanted my parents to stay together. I always wanted my siblings and I to have these, these family reunions and vacations and holidays. I always wanted my marriage to last. Like, I wanted the fairy tales. I wanted my kids to love me forever. Like, I want what everybody wants, right? Like, I don't know. I think everybody wants, but I know that I wanted the happy ending. I wanted someone to love me. I wanted someone to take care of me and nurture me and support me. And I know I play a big part in that, because I act like I don't need those things, right? I acted like, I'm this people pleasing. I'm strong. I don't need anyone. And I never really showed for so many years that side of me that needed someone and needed care. And so I can understand, from his position, why I didn't need that, and why his needs were so much more important than mine. And, it's been a devastating thing, because you're in a crunch, right? Like, now I need to figure everything out. I have all the logistics of every kid. I have all the financial things of everybody. I've got so much pressure on my shoulders. I also have the mourning. Like, I'm heartbroken, and I anticipated at some point we would uncouple, because, that was what was said, and I had relief, and I didn't have to deal with all of his baggage and garbage, and he didn't have to deal with mine, and it felt good. But then there was also this, like, security and this comfort in knowing that he's still here, and I'll still do the things that I do, and he'll still do the things that he does, and we'll try to make this work as best as we can. And so, yeah, I anticipated it at some point that wouldn't be the norm for the rest of our lives, right? I didn't anticipate it now. And obviously there was an expedited window. He had a girlfriend he wanted to be playing house with, and, living with his wife didn't factor into that, and his 4 kids. And so I understand that. For me personally, I just was like, I wish we handled it the correct way. Like, the right way is to get the paperwork. Let's end our marriage before you're moving on with somebody else, because that's still an affair. I'm not doing that. And so, whatever, each to their own. And, it's unsettling the fact that, like, he can just move on so fast from us and me, and maybe for him it's not so fast, and he also, if he's a person that needs the hugs and loves and isn't getting it, then I also want him to be getting that. So it's ultra confusing. But I didn't anticipate feeling the way I feel. I didn't anticipate all this sadness and sorrow. I didn't anticipate, the fantasy I had in my head becoming an impossible reality. And it's sad. Like, I feel a little drained. I feel a little tired. I feel a lot of sad. I feel a lot of sorrow. Like, I'm also sorry for him. Like, like I said, I think about things, and I know not everybody has this ability to, and I know especially he does not. I'm like, put yourself in my shoes. The night that I told him not to come home, I said I don't feel safe. He never responded to me. Then I was unfriended, and there was a public Facebook post about me kicking him out and him being so sorry because the girl he wants doesn't want him, and talking about his girlfriend, and he doesn't know what to say to his kids, and all this stuff. And mind you, he hadn't been even asking the kids how their days were. And so I wedged a chair into the door. At that time, I felt like a mom. I felt like the dad. I felt like the mama bear that had to protect our family. And I'm injured here. So, like, with adrenaline, I'm sure I could get moving. But, like, I didn't know what else to do. I didn't know how he would respond. I mean, if after knowing me for 25 years that he's willing to say the hateful things and do the hateful things that he has done, like, to me, and yet, for this new person he's still friends with, he's still, interacting with, then I didn't know what he would do. And so I just wanted to protect our peace at most. I just didn't want him coming in yelling at me. I didn't want a scene. I just wanted peace. And by wedging the chair into the door, I felt like I was getting that peace. And I felt bad that I had to tell my kids that, because they're like, what is going on? You hiding this from the trick-or-treat? You think the trick-or-treaters are going to come in? I'm like, no. Like, I need to be honest. I don't want to deal with it. And, it gets back to him. That's fine. They're his kids. They're entitled to tell him the truth. I have nothing to hide. And it hurts him that I would do that. But I was like, you have to understand, like, we have not had a perfect marriage, and there's been yelling, and there's been lunging at, and there's been threats, and there's been things that I'm like, I cannot, in this moment of feeling really triggered and scared, I needed to do what I could do to protect my kids. So I thought, I didn't need it. I don't know if maybe he found out because he came. I don't know how he found out. I didn't ask. Like, how'd you know I wedged the chair into the door? I just didn't ask. I just, responded with my side of the story. And I was like, how, if you were me in my shoes, how would you have responded? Like, what could I have done better? Like, what could I have done differently? I really would like to know, because I was just enacting and reacting and responding based on all the information I had. Like, he said he hated me. He said I was nothing and I'm not family, and all, just on and on about how much he despised me. And so I believed him. And when he's upset, I don't know what he's going to do. Like, I don't know this person anymore. So I hear this thing today, and I'm starting to get things done. So, I do believe everything happens for a reason, and it's really kicking my butt in gear in one aspect. And it's been a project that I have been, for less of better words, procrastinating. And it's not, it's beyond procrastinating. I've been absolutely ignoring, haven't even gone to deal with anything of the project in like 8+ months. Like, out of sight, out of mind, 1000%. It's an emotional thing. It's a lot of things. But I'm like, I have no choice, but I need to get this project going. And so all of a sudden today there was action where there had been literally cobwebs and, just craziness happening. So that feels really good. It feels really progress. And I didn't want to just listen to music today. I listened to something, and I say this often. I love my audiobooks. I love an audiobook that is spoken by the author even more so. And I think sometimes the right book comes to you at the right time. And this was a book I had recently read or listened to, but it was the only one in my Libby app. And so I had no choice but to listen to it again. Well, I could have listened to something else. So I did have a choice, but I chose to listen to this. And just from the jump, it was like it was speaking to me. It had a lot of things. And it was talking about, it talks about the different, how there's many different forms of wealth. It isn't just a monetary thing. Money is just a tool. It's talking about like the real wealth that we need, you know, in our life to be successful, the real measurements. And so one of them was talking about something, and I had to listen to it like probably a solid 10-15 times. I just kept rewinding it. And so I'm going to see if I can get it right. But it was talking in regards to personal growth, and it was talking about change. And it was saying, you know, at this time, like I was telling Chris, like, I am so confused. Like, I didn't anticipate feeling like this. Like, I didn't anticipate this. And you know, I was asking him questions about how he even got into this relationship. And, you know, he was like, maybe we can reconcile, and considering that, like, maybe that would be better for me. Maybe that would be better for everyone. I am feeling like an emotion right now. I didn't anticipate all feeling this way. And I went and I drove off to this lake, and I sat there, and I just needed to get myself out of my environment. And I watched the way the sun reflected on the water like diamonds. And I watched the white, I don't know what kind of bird it was. It didn't look like it was a swan, but I watched the bird, and I watched the water and the ripples of the waves. And I sat beneath a willow tree. And I really just thought, and I was thinking about, you know, what he had said, and the things about, you know, how maybe we can reconcile, and you know, all he ever did was love me and want to be with me, and I'm now using it as my platform to have my voice, because so often my voice I just felt was like not heard, and I keep wanting to have him hear me and understand me, and like my experience and how I got here. Because I feel like a lot of times, like, his experience overshadowed mine, and I heard his, and I didn't get that same reciprocation. It was like when I talked, it was like, well, you just want too much, and you know, are this. And so, like, I didn't feel always like I could talk, and I expect too much, and I'm just not good enough. And I'm like, that's not what it's about. It's about me just like sharing what it is that I need. And so, again, I say all that to say, I'm going to leave with this. So the saying was this. It was, change is hard. At first, change is hard. It's messy in the middle, but it's glorious in the end. So I'm going to repeat it to you guys, just as it was repeated to me in the thing. At first, change is hard. And in the middle, it's messy. But in the end, it's glorious. And I really do feel like that spoke to me, because right now it's really hard. It's as hard as life has ever been for me. But yet there's also this piece, because I'm using the reserves of the tools I know. Right now, I'm not in a mode where I have 5 minutes to meditate. I haven't even had time to film. I have barely had enough time to get them edited and put up on the website. I'm taking care of my kids. I'm trying to figure out finances, how to survive. I'm trying to figure out what I can do. I'm trying to process emotions. And there just isn't time for those extra things like meditating and my steps and my cold showers. But I also know that those are the exact things I need. So I did take a cold shower today, and I did meditate, but it was a little bit different than it used to be. It was at a lake. And I did get my steps. It just wasn't in a gym or in my room. It was wherever I got them in life. And I don't know, and I don't have the mental capacity to check what my step count is, because I also know I need to be healing my body. And I know my body is holding on to a lot of pain right now and strife because of the environment and the situation I'm in. But I do know this. Change is hard at first. It's messy in the middle, but it's going to be glorious in the end. And so I have to believe that all this is happening for me, that there is a reason all this is happening, and that that reason will come out and we will all be healthier and wiser and better because of it. And whether that means we're together, whether that means we're apart, whether it means we live apart and learn how to be together again, I don't know what the future holds. But what I do know is this, is all those things I didn't think I was strong enough, I didn't think I could do, or didn't really want to do. What I learned in these last 48 hours is I can do it. I know I've always known I can do it. I just don't always want to. And so now is the season. It's winter. It's not necessarily winter, it's still fall, but it's my winter. And this is the time where I can have explosive growth if I just put in the time and the work. So I say thank you so much. Please go out there today. Give somebody a big smile. Give them a compliment, and honestly, just watch how they glow up. So thank you for being here today. Bye.